العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
The story of the barbaric killing of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and his family and his followers in the Battle of Karbala is famous amongst all Muslims. However, the effects of this battle, even after 1,400 years, has not been fully understood by these Muslims who claim to have understood the message and revolution of Imam Hussein. And very rarely do we discuss what this battle and what these events actually mean for us today. This battle and the events which took place on Ashura are the most powerful and the most effective story of talking about goodness defeating evil, about justice defeating oppression, and of sincerity and honesty of a person, and how this will lead to eternal blessings in the afterlife by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also tells us how we should stand up against evil, oppression and cowardice. This victory of good over evil is what guaranteed the future of Islam. And Karbala, even in our modern world today, serves as a model and serves as a lesson for us on how to defeat this evil, no matter where it's found or no matter what form it is found in. Therefore, this annual pilgrimage that we Muslims do to the shrine of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, known as the Arbaeen pilgrimage, is the chance for us every year to go out onto the streets and to go out and walk and to show the entire world that we, the people who stand on the side of Haqq, will always be able to defeat the forces of evil. Now, the character of Imam Hussein alayhi salam is very important when we try and understand how good can always defeat evil. Of course, the Imam is perfect in every sense. He is ma'soom, first of all, meaning he is infallible, he cannot sin. But the characteristics of the Imam and the way he would act towards people is another indicator of how we can prove that this figure of Imam Hussein alayhi salam is the most significant and the most important hero in all of human history in standing up in bravery and against oppression. And this is seen not just by Muslims, but by non-Muslims as well, who have looked at the story of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and who have recognized that this is a figure which the world has never seen the likes of before. You have figures who created entire revolutions in this world like Che Guevara and other important figures who came and stated that the source of their inspiration and the source of their learning in order for them to carry out their revolutions stems back to Imam Hussein alayhi salam and the stand which he took in Ashura. There is not one aspect of the personality of the Imam that is not worth us paying attention to and following and trying to be like that. And the quotes and the words and the lectures given by Imam Hussein alayhi salam have entered into popular memory all around the world today. And his comments are some of the strongest which have ever been seen against oppression. For example, Imam Hussein alayhi salam says that the people are slaves of this world and their religion is merely on their tongue. They keep it as long as it means that they have a comfortable life, but when the test comes for them to put their religion into practice, religious people become very few. The meaning behind this is, it is all very well for us to sit in our comfortable lives and say that we are Muslim, and to say that we are followers of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. But if you look at Kufa, and if you look at the people who were supposed to have supported Imam Hussein alayhi salam, there was lots of them too. But when the test came for them to stand up and to defend the Imam and to stand against Yazid, how many of them turned up? How many of them went to support the Imam? Very few. Therefore, it's important that we are not followers just in name, but followers in action as well. However, Imam Hussein is not just famous for his steadfastness, his bravery and his martyrdom as well. He is also known for his humility, for the humble nature he had, for his kindness, for his patience and for his generosity and how generous he was to the people. It is narrated that very often people would come to the Imam and would send and give him gifts because he's a member of the household of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. But whenever he would receive these presents, he would give them away to poorer people. He wouldn't just give them to the poor people in society, he would give them to the widows, the women whose husbands had been killed or who had been martyred, fi sabilillah. He would also give them to the children, if he saw that these children were deprived of toys and things to keep themselves amused and to keep themselves happy with. One time, when Imam Hussein alayhi salam was questioned by people as to why he was spending time with the poor people in Medina, he answered that I thought I would hear the stories and the tragedies of these poor people in detail, and by doing this and by letting them speak to me, it would lighten the burden which is in their hearts. The Imam would always give time to people. He wouldn't judge people based on how rich they were, what class they were in. He wouldn't see a king or a sultan and seek his company. He would seek the opposite. He would go and sit with the poor people. He would go and sit with the children. He would go and listen to what they had to say, because he realized in what these people say there is merit and there is wisdom. The martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salam was also very significant, and it is narrated that when he was martyred in Karbala, the heavens and the clouds began to rain blood, not just water. And it said that when the people woke up in the morning, after they had finished sleeping, after the martyrdom of the Imam, they looked and they saw that on the ground and in the buckets and the jars which they had outside, there was not water that had been fallen in it, but rather these jars were filled with blood. Therefore, there is a significance in his martyrdom, just as there was a significance in his life as well. And these are one of the many reasons why the Arbaeen pilgrimage takes place every year. And in fact, why it is a growing phenomenon, why more people are going every year to Iraq, to Karbala, to walk from all different cities to the shrine of Imam Hussein. This Imam inspired millions and hundreds of millions, and potentially even billions of people to fight against evil, and to safeguard and to protect what is important to us, meaning our freedom, our justice, and to be honest, no matter what the personal cost may be. Some of us are scared to stand up for these things because we are scared that our jobs may get taken away. We are scared that our money might get taken away. We are scared that our status in society and in the places where we go will be taken away. Why? If we say that we are followers of the Imam, it must mean that we are ready to sacrifice everything, including our families, our mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, and our children as well, in order to stand for his values. Otherwise, we are of the people that the Imam condemns and criticizes. He says those people are only religious and only my followers by their tongue. When it comes to it, they are not from my people. They are not from my supporters. Arbaeen is one of the largest pilgrimage gatherings on earth. In fact, it is the largest gathering of human beings in this earth. Tens of millions of people go to visit the shrine of Imam Hussein. In the Western media, if you watch BBC, Sky News, all of these channels, if they do decide to cover it, which they very rarely do, they will often just put small article online to read about Arbaeen pilgrimage. What they will say in it is that people will take to the roads and they will take to the streets walking. They will dress in simple, humble clothing. And they will go in a very organized manner and in a very well organized mass movement of people which has never been seen anywhere else in the entire world. Name me one instance where people walk for hundreds of miles to meet a person who is no longer on this earth. This is not something which is found anywhere else. The only place which it is found is in the heartland of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, walking towards Karbala. If you look at the media in West Asia, in the Middle East for example, the way that they will describe it as bigger than any other rally or protest on the entire planet, reaching 25 million people. 25 million people is about 60% of the population of Iraq, more than half of the population of Iraq, all going into this one pilgrimage. And it is not just the case that it stays at 25 million. Every single year this number goes up. Some people have said that although the amount of people who go from specific routes to the shrine is around 25 million, the overall pilgrimage with other people going from different cities, not to the full extent of Karbala, has reached 45 million people. Now we mentioned that Imam Hussein alayhi salam was a very popular and extremely humble character. And this is a very important part of his personality, the fact he was humble. And what is inspirational about the pilgrimage of Arbaeen is how we, as followers of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, have tried to follow in his footsteps with his humility and with his humbleness. This pilgrimage, Arbaeen, is the best example of what it is to be humble. One example I want to bring of this humility is Shaheed Ibrahim Ra'isi. He is a perfect example of humility during the pilgrimage of Arbaeen. At the time when he done the Arbaeen pilgrimage, he was one of the most influential, one of the most important and prominent figures in the entire region. But when he goes for Arbaeen, he wears just abaya. All he has in terms of his possessions is a small bag with some clothes and a walking stick. This is what it means to be humble. No matter how high, successful you get in this life, when it comes to walking on the path of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, you are nothing. You are of the ordinary people. You are of his followers and nothing more than that. This man, when he went on Arbaeen, he didn't go and sit in his car and air conditioning and drive around in his jigsaw. No, it's the opposite of that. He would go into the mawakib and he would serve the food. He would go into the tents where the people would hold the majlis and he would read his salah by himself in the corner, not looking for fame, not looking for attention. This is what it means to be of the humble followers of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And this is the reward that someone will get for being one of the followers of Imam Hussein. The reward which this person got was that he became shaheed. He rose to meet his Lord and he will be taken care of by his Lord. And this is one of the blessings which some people can get when they perform the pilgrimage of Arbaeen with very pure intentions. Now the generosity of the people, especially of the people of Iraq when it comes to Arbaeen, is very difficult to explain. But I will give you an example just of how generous the people of Iraq and the people of the Mawakib are. When there was an earthquake in the country of Haiti quite a few years ago, and hundreds of thousands of people died in this earthquake, the United Nations declared that these people have no food and we need to get them food urgently, otherwise there will be a famine and millions of people will die. In 5 months, the United Nations managed to deliver 4.9 million meals. 5 months. 5 million meals in 5 months. In Arbaeen, over the period of 2 or 3 weeks, the Iraqis managed to gather and to make 700 million meals, which are prepared for the pilgrims, prepared for the people who are walking in the street. And the people who are making these meals are not rich restaurant owners. They are poor farmers. They are poor people who live in the sides of the roads in which the people are walking in. This is unbelievable. This is the power that the followers of the Ahlul Bayt have. No world organization can do anything compared to what the followers of Amir al-Mu'mineen can do. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam has a narration on visiting Karbala. He says, if one of our Shi'as, if one of our followers goes to the ziyarah and does the ziyarah of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, then he won't return from this journey except that all of his sins will be forgiven. For every single step that that person takes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives 1,000 virtues for him. 1,000 of his sins are forgiven and his status is elevated 1,000 times. Taking part in the Arbaeen walk year after year means that it will become more publicized and more people around the world will be forced to pay attention to this pilgrimage. And many non-Muslims, many Christians, many Jews, many non-religious people will look at this pilgrimage and they will begin to research, why are millions and millions of poor people walking to the shrine of a person who is no longer on this earth? They will begin to research more into Islam. They will research and they will find that the truth is in Islam and perfect, divine blessings are found in the religion of Islam. It is said by some people that Karbala is the luminous torch, it is the beacon of human salvation, which lights forever the peak of the history of Islam to awaken people no matter what time period they are living in. Even though Imam Hussein alayhi salam was martyred 1,400 years ago, now more than ever his message is being heard by the entire world. And thus this movement and this journey of Arbaeen is the most perfect example of us celebrating how to rise up to tyranny. And it is narrated that Imam Hussein alayhi salam said to Marwan ibn Hakam, farewell to Islam if the Islamic Ummah is stuck with a ruler like Yazid. And when he was asked Imam Hussein to go and pledge his allegiance and to give bay'ah to Yazid, what did he say? He said that a person like me does not pay allegiance to a person like Yazid. Even though his life was on the line, he took a stand in front of that person's face to stand up for what was right and to stick to his principles, because he knew that this is what makes Allah happy and pleased. The greatest hope is that unlike Imam Hussein alayhi salam, when the Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Zaman, comes back out of occultation, he will have more than only 72 companions and followers to aid him. It is written in our books that the people of Kufa sent thousands of messages, like I said, to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, in which they stated that they were very serious and committed to helping the Imam in any battle or any challenge in which he faced. However, as we mentioned, they failed to support their Imam. They failed to fulfill their duty to go and help the Ma'soom Imam. This is when we need to question, when Imam al-Mahdi comes back, are we actually going to stand by him and to be at his service? Or are we going to be like the people of Kufa who betrayed the Imam and did not come because they were scared for their lives? Some of the strongest words which are used to describe the loyalty required by us is the commitment which was made by one of the other Sahaba called Muslim ibn Awsaja, who said that all of the companions who came to help the Imam were solid like rock and they were ready to fight for the Imam. If they were killed 70 times over and then they were made alive again, they would still prefer to achieve martyrdom with Imam Hussein alayhi salam rather than to live under the oppressive ruler like Yazid. Ayatollah Shaheed Mutahari describes the modern relevance then of the martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his revolution by saying that Imam Hussein wrote down with his own blood his victory on the airwaves of everlasting frequencies. What does this mean? It means that he wanted to win the media war in order that the news of his revolution travelled far and wide around the entire globe. And this is the mentality of the revolutionary people and the martyrs. One of the purposes of Imam Hussein sacrificing himself and his family was so that the message of true Muhammadan Islam would be spread not just in the region of Iraq but across the entire world for generations to come. And this is what we need to try and do with our voices that we have. This is what we need to do with our media, especially with social media. Not just posting the name of Imam Hussein and the shrine of Imam Hussein, but posting about his legacy and his message and his ethics and his values. Because this is what the Imam stood for, and this is what he would expect us to stand for as his followers as well. And to finish, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant victory to the mu'mineen and the mazlumeen and for all of the shuhada, especially in Gaza and in Palestine, and for the Hajj Sha'bi. Please recite Surah Al-Fatiha after salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.